My teen male sister, 26, has been dating a guy named Jake, not his real name, 27, for 6 months now. My parents were very happy that she finally had a boyfriend, because before she said she didn't feel like dating anyone yet. On the other hand, as a brother, I was a little concerned because I didn't want my sister to be hurt or harmed. Yesterday was our dad's birthday, and my sister invited Jake to visit us for the first time. We have a family tradition that when it's Dad's birthday, everyone over 15 must drink the cherry tincture that Dad made himself. It's not strong at all, and even the kids don't get intoxicated on it. But when Mom poured it for Jake, he started to say he didn't drink it. Mom said that it wasn't strong at all, that it was delicious, and that he could take just one sip if he didn't want to drink the whole glass. But Jake kept saying that he never drank, not even a sip of anything alcoholic. Then I said he was only a guest in our home and should honor our tradition. Jake blushed and said he wasn't allowed any alcohol for medical reasons. I noted that one sip would do nothing and that he was disrespecting our dad. My sister was embarrassed and asked Jake to take a sip. Dad was embarrassed too and said it was okay and he wouldn't be offended if Jake didn't drink the tincture. Finally, Jake gave in and took a tiny sip of the tincture. Spoiler, he spent the whole evening with us after that, and nothing terrible happened to him. After he left for his place, a small argument started in our house. My dad thought I acted like a selfish child. My mom didn't see anything wrong with what I did, and neither did I. My sister looks like she has yet to decide which side to take. Am I the idiot for telling my sister's boyfriend that he's just a guest in our house? You are the idiot. If someone doesn't drink for medical reasons, you're risking their life by pressuring them. What sort of messed up guest etiquette says that guests should risk their lives to appease a whiny little boy? If someone doesn't drink for religious reasons, you're disrespecting them at their core. What sort of messed up guest etiquette tells someone to disregard their core beliefs completely? But they were okay from the one little sip. OP says that, but really has no way of knowing if the boyfriend was okay or just hiding it. Who knows if the boyfriend was on the verge of puking, had intestinal distress, or any other side effects they suffered because they aren't supposed to have alcohol. Or maybe it's not even physical. Perhaps they've been 5 years sober and they're now battling strong urges to pick the bottle back up. Good job, OP. You are the idiot for sure. Agree. You are acting like a selfish child. On a completely different note, forcing guests to partake in family traditions is weird. Sure, ask if they want to be included, but if they say no, it should end there. Learn to stay in your lane and leave people alone. You're young enough to learn this lesson, but old enough that it generally is ridiculous that you haven't already. I, male 38, have a very messy family life. My dad cheated on my mom when I was about 15, and this woman, who I'll call Sarah, also had a son, Mike, 38, who's a few months younger than me. She also cheated on her husband. When the affairs were exposed and divorces were finalized, my dad and Sarah got married, but our parents' plan for a new blended and happy family quickly disappeared since Mike and I had no intention of being each other's brothers. We both lived primarily with our other biological parents. We were rarely in the house together, but very soon we talked it out and decided that we weren't enemies and just wanted nothing to do with each other. So we have as neutral a relationship as possible, and we don't care for good or bad about the other. We both agreed that my dad and Sarah suck, so when we were cold or impolite to our respective step-parents, we didn't feel like we had to protect them or anything. Paul, male 22, our half-brother, was born a few years later. Due to the age difference and us hating that blended family, we were never close to Paul and had little to no impact on his life. Paul is getting married to Laura, 21, a devout Christian who's been pushing him to unite our family. Laura's been using the wedding to try to get us to play happy family. At first, it started with small annoyances like family chats and trying to get us involved in wedding planning. Originally, Mike and I were just regular guests at the wedding, but Paul asked us, as requested by Laura, to both be his best men. It felt awkward, but Paul never asked for anything, so we accepted. Last weekend, we were supposed to attend a seminar since Mike and I haven't been to church in years to receive training on what to do at the ceremony. However, Paul and Laura set it up. There was a pastor, Laura, Paul, Mike, and our parents when we arrived. We were supposed to spend the weekend healing our family. Sarah and Dad knew this beforehand and were on board. Mike and I, not so much. So we just left and opted to pull back from being a part of the wedding. This upset Paul, and he said that if we weren't going to be his best men, we wouldn't be invited at all. This was acceptable to Mike and me, since neither of us went to each other's wedding. But now the drama is everywhere. Extended family is contacting us to make us budge, and all the circus that comes with that type of situation. My wife said that I'm behaving like an idiot and should just suck it up. So I'm starting to doubt, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You are well into your middle age now, and I'm not mentioning this to offend you. I'm just stressing that you're certainly old enough to know your mind. You and Mike are not a couple of confused teenagers who can be forced to be with the rest of the family through some Christian intervention. I would avoid that wedding, as there's hardly any reason to be there. Apart from your father, who you probably had some relation to when you were little, there isn't going to be a single friendly or even familiar face there. By the way, congrats to you and Mike for having settled your relationship in a very adult and mature way a long time ago. Many people could learn from that. Live and let live. Jesus, we were supposed to spend the weekend healing our family? Tell them you were ambushed and lied to. Go no contact with all the idiots sticking their noses in. You and Mike are the most intelligent and mature people in this entire situation. You should not suck it up. Your wife needs to back you up, not throw you under the bus. I, 38 female, am married with 2 children, twin girls Amy and Nina, young grammar school age. We live in the same town as most of the family in the house I inherited from my grandfather. It is the biggest house in the family, so we often host family gatherings. My husband's youngest sister, Jane, 31, has been traveling for work ever since her early 20s. In mid-2022, she moved in with her fiancé, about half an hour's drive from us. Since then, Jane has regularly attended family gatherings and rebuilt relationships with her family members. The only thing she never bothers to do is address my daughters by their names. Amy and Nina are identical twins. I understand when people refer to them as the twins, but I think it's important that their individuality is respected. I always tell family and friends that now, at their age, it is important for them to have their own identity, and if possible, please treat them as individuals rather than a pair or a unit. My girls have different interests in hair and dressing styles, so it's not hard to tell them apart. Jane always insists on calling the girls the twins and makes no effort to distinguish them. I asked her many times to treat them as individuals, like her other nieces and nephews, and Jane would say, okay, and then keep doing the same. Last Christmas, Amy made paper cranes, and Nina painted flower pictures as their Christmas gifts for everyone in the family. They signed their names and individually handed the gift to everyone. Jane's fiancé had to work this year and didn't join us, so after brunch, she video called him in the living room while the rest of us did our things nearby. Her fiancé saw the crane in her hand and asked where she got it, and Jane said, "Oh, one of the twins gave it to me for Christmas." The other twin drew some flowers. I felt this was disrespectful, as my girls put a lot of effort into the gifts and deserve recognition for their private dedication. When everyone left, I told Jane I expected her to call my girls Amy and Nina from now on and to treat them like individuals and know their differences. Jane said that she won't bother, as my girls are too young. So I told her she was banned from my house until she learned how to address my girls by their names. Jane just stomped off. My husband agreed with me on this. A few days ago, my mother-in-law called to plan my husband's birthday. I told her we could have the party at my house like usual, but Jane would not be invited. My mother-in-law was alarmed and asked why, and when she learned of what happened, she was mad at Jane. Jane called me a few hours ago, calling me an idiot for making a big deal out of something insignificant. She said my girls would be known as twins, whether I like it or not. And once they get older, people will recognize them as individuals, but not now when they're young and just another couple of girls. She said she deserved to be with her family for her brother's birthday, and I needed to let it go. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. As the mother of identical twin girls, now adults, I was very intentional about clearly treating them as individuals while still enjoying the uniqueness of being twins. It is incredibly important to create an environment where they're treated as two separate humans, not a unit. They have commented more than once how much they appreciated this growing up. Stick to your guns on this. It's one thing for strangers to address them as the twins, and a very different one for someone so closely related to do so. I grew up with two identical twins as very close friends, and the competitiveness and the lack of individuality encouraged by their parents and their family scarred them for life. Seeing them grow apart and become vindictive as we've grown older has been so sad. Instead of having a built-in friend for life, they keep arguing as 10-year-olds about the pettiest things. It's only gotten worse now that they're in the marriage and kid stage. At their age, that's insane. I could see it while they're babies, but she's taken it way too far. Your girls deserve to be individuals and not have their identities smushed into a collective single. She's dehumanizing your babies by doing this. Maybe address Jane as Bubby's sister instead of using her name. Protect your babies. There's absolutely nothing wrong with forcing someone to undergo the consequences of their actions. Hugs to you and your family. Give Nina and Amy forehead kisses. My teen male. Parents gave my sister, teen, brother, young teen, and me nature names. More specifically, water nature names. My sister's Ocean, I'm Cove, and my brother is River. They wanted our names to have a theme without being matchy with the same initial, so we got our names. The story was told to us when we were little, and my parents were proud of the names they gave us. Back when we were all stuck at home, my parents started to express regret about their choices for us. They told us over dinner one night that they wished they had given us better names and apologized for making us live with the names we were given. A few months after that apology, my mom and dad told us that they wanted us to be Elizabeth, sister, James, me, and Michael, brother. They said since we were kids and weren't in college yet and nobody had their license at that point, it would be the best time to do it. We all said we didn't want to change our first names. My dad looked into whether they could do it when we said no, and all answers he got pointed to a firm no. But it was also unusual to change your older kid's first name, so they went ahead and tried anyway. But once we were asked if we wanted different names, they were told no. My parents brought it up a lot to us afterward. My brother asked why they wanted to name him Michael, and he said the name was crappy. They told him Michael was a timeless name that would age well and give him some nickname choices. He said he hated it, so they asked if he would consider Charles instead, which he said was an even bigger no. Our parents focused really hard on him for a while because he had asked the question about the name, so they figured he was the most open. So far, none of us have agreed to the name change. I told my parents that I know they regret the names, but we're all used to and like our names and don't want to go for more tedious and common names. My parents argued that in the future, we will regret it, and we'd have to pay for it ourselves when we're adults and realize that having weird names does not age well. I asked why they couldn't let us get there if we ever did. They said we should be thinking more of our futures, and they accused me of having a nasty attitude because I said James was a bad name to me, as Cove is to them now. They told me to look online, and I did, and I saw a lot of hate for our names, but I told them it still didn't change my mind. My parents said we should respect them enough as parents to allow this, and that we're all being disrespectful. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I think Cove is a kick-butt name. Also, it's wild to me that they just suggested names they wanted you to change to and didn't ask you if you had a name you'd rather be called. If you're worried about the future, you could always add a more traditional middle name, which you choose, and then you'll have the option of going by your middle name if you prefer. It sounds like to me, the only ones embarrassed by your names are the people who gave them to you all. Sounds like they've got birther's remorse. My mother decided to name my sisters and me after the various plants and trees, so I also have an unusual name, but I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Sometimes my name gets me unusual looks when I'm called at the GP's office, but I get a lot more positive remarks about it by far. What would their response be if you said you would agree to a name change on condition that they change their names too because you and your siblings had collectively decided that you didn't like them? What the heck were they thinking? Not the idiot, and I'd be sure to take possession of things like birth certificates ASAP. My sister-in-law, Beth, is plus-sized. That's her term. She doesn't really seem that overweight to me and has been on a continual weight loss journey for as long as I've known her. The problem is that she's always now talking about what my sister and I eat, that we don't exercise, unfair metabolism, etc. For example, we all had dinner together, and when we ate dessert, she kept saying that she couldn't have any and that it was unfair that we could without worrying about the extra pounds. This is where I started to get mad because I noticed my sister, still a teen and very small, put her dessert down and stopped eating it. So then this weekend, we were all at my mom's house, and Beth started talking about food again, and then started analyzing my little sister's body. I mean, taking her hand and putting it around my sister's arm and commenting that she could touch her fingers, saying, "Don't worry, soon you'll get a woman body and you'll have fat thighs too," etc. I lost my crap and asked to talk to her privately and not very nicely, told her that she needed to stop projecting her issues with food onto the rest of us, and asked if she was trying to fast-track my little sister to an eating disorder. I said her issue wasn't her weight, it was her crazy toxic mindset. Then I said something that I totally acknowledge was over the line. Beth and my brother have been trying for kids for a year or so, so I said, if you ever have a daughter, you're going to give her you're crazy or something. Now, I didn't mean this to be a barb that she'll never have children, but that's how she took it. Anyway, after that, she started crying and went to hide in the bathroom. My brother asked what happened, and I told him, and he called me names. I went to the bathroom door and apologized for the comment about kids, but I stand by the rest. Eventually, my sister and I left to go get some stuff, and when we returned, bro and sister-in-law were gone. We also talked about my sister being okay with setting boundaries, which doesn't make her mean to say something when Beth acts like that. Then I received a long-winded text from her saying I needed to apologize, not just for the kid comment, but for all of it, and I said no bueno. My mom and bro are both pressuring me to apologize. My mom just wants to keep the peace, but my sister said thank you, and she appreciates it, and I don't want to apologize, except for the kid remark, which I already did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Shame on your mom for not tearing Beth a new butt for her toxic treatment of your little sister. As a woman who was once a teenage girl, your actions meant more to your sister than you may ever know. They're all pressuring you to apologize, but no one mentions Beth apologizing. She's a cry-bully, and your bro doesn't get the right to call you names. What the heck is that? They're both toxic people. Cry-bully is an underrated term and couldn't more perfectly sum up the sister-in-law. And mom is an idiot at best and a toxic narcissist at worst. Why isn't she getting sister-in-law to apologize to keep the peace? God, I hate that term. Why is she so spineless to not stand up for her daughter? Does she think the sun shines out of her son's butt? Do not apologize for sticking up for your sister.